Welcome to The Other Dimension with the team Damon Penny, Ben Winfield, and Louisa Brown. We guide you through the supernatural, the occult, and the unexplained, answering questions that will make you question your grip of reality, with special guests guiding you through everything from demons to divination, cryptids to crystals, religion to skeptics. We explore in depth the true meaning of the unexplained. So strap in, kick back, and enjoy as we enter the other dimension.
Hello everybody and welcome along. It's your Friday night paranormal fix and you're here on the other dimension. And tonight we are going in a different direction. We are joined by our special guest, Aled Owens. We'll be talking about horror movies and scripted movies tonight and how Hollywood has affected the paranormal side of things. We're going to get deep into that. But first, let me introduce my co-hosts, the king and queen of the paranormal, the power couple. It's Lou and Ben.
Hey! First time we got an applause.
So, before we get into this tonight, a couple of bit of maintenance. Don't forget, if you want some extra stuff, I'm going to be passing over to Ben with the Patreon. So the Patreon's still going to keep going. Discord will still keep going. And everything's still going to keep going. If you want any of that, all the links are on our Facebook page. The merchandise is selling nice and sweet at the moment. So if you want to grab some more, go ahead and get it. We've got 15% off for the next 2 weeks. So in celebration of me taking a break. So it's
Right, gonna get on that.
Big shouts out to Natasha, out to Colour Me Pinkish, and out to Jeanette, locked in, locked on. So let's introduce our guest tonight. Welcome along, Aled Owens. Well,
Big shout out to Craig as well. Sorry, guys. Big shout out to Craig from Haunted Museum because it is his birthday, you old fart.
Happy birthday to you. I was going to go into like a weird rap then, but I thought that would be a bit, you know. So, Aled, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you on. We've never done a show where we spoke about the way Hollywood has affected the paranormal way. And I know that you were saying before you were doing a scripted horror movie, so it's great to find out about that. So, but before we start, for the listeners, just tell them who you are and what you do.
So, yeah, I'm Aled Owens. I'm a Welsh filmmaker from Carmarthen in Wales. And basically, at the moment, I am in the midst of making a horror movie, a very low budget, unfortunately, but still great to be making a film, a low budget horror movie called Scopophobia. So it's sort of a Welsh set, English language horror feature film set in the fictional town of Milton, where 10 years after Rhiannon was peer pressured into stealing a cash box from the mill in her teens, Milton is now a ghost town as a result. And Rhiannon has developed scopophobia, which is the fear of being stared at. So she reunites with her friends, and when they pressure her once again into taking them back into the abandoned mill to retrieve the money that she stole all those years ago and that she hid in the walls, when they enter, they find that they've been locked in and that there's someone in there with them. So that's what we're making at the moment. So yeah, it's exciting.
Like that just the blurb alone makes me want to watch it. That's like,
oh, great.
That's like instant, like my sort of film.
Great.
I've seen the stuff that Bob sent over, which I just have to explain when Bob comes and watches this later. Bob,
Hi, Bob.
The reason he's really good at Welsh is because he is Welsh. That's why he can speak fluent Welsh.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it.
Well, yeah, I've seen I think it was the 45-minute bit that you sent Bob.
Yeah. So basically, in March of this year, we completed a week of production. We basically shot on a self-raised budget of about £12,500. And despite the quick turnaround of just a week, we basically completed about 50% or the cheapest half of the film, which equates to about a third of the overall production. So when we get into more of the blood and guts and gore and stuff, that's when it's going to take a bit longer and take a bit more time to make that stuff. So we've basically made half of the film, and we've got another week of production coming up in October. which has just been locked in this week, and then we're gonna end it with a final production week in March of next year. So it'll be 3 weeks of filming around a full year. So that'll be quite nice to get that done, and hopefully we'll get to that point where we've raised enough money to make it as good as it can be.
It sounds insane. It just sounds so cool. Do you know, like something that you like? Do you have like a bucket list you do for your 45? It just sounds.
Oh yeah.
But when you say self-raising, how are you raising money? Are people donating?
Yeah, so until very, very recently, when it just closed, we had an Indiegogo campaign. Yeah. So that was we basically did a sort of essentially the same as an Indiegogo campaign, just offline, where we were kind of going around and talking to friends and family and loved ones and people that we knew in the industry. Basically, a lot of us are people who know each other from film school from a few years ago. A lot of us are people who have gone off to work small production roles on big productions. So I've been working as a grip on a few things with some notable household names, but again in small roles. And I know a lot of people who have gone off to do, post-production. They want to be editors, but they're in sort of a low-paying, low-ranking post-production job, for example. They work on big stuff, great stuff, but obviously it'll be years before they get to be an editor or the editor on those projects. So this was kind of a nice way of getting everyone back together, seeing what people would be willing to give to see us make as much as we could make with that money, and let those people like myself who want to be director, editor, head of sound, head of production, get those opportunities on a smaller scale, but in a bigger role. So it kind of evens out quite nicely there.
That sounds so cool. Like, because I find as well with these massive, because we're going to get into this conversation anyway, may as well.
Yeah.
With these big budgeted Hollywood movies, they seem, do you know what I mean? They seem over budgeted. Everything just seems elaborate and so sort of overly produced.
Yeah.
The smaller budget films seem to capture the more of the paranormal element a lot better because they have a less of a budget.
Yes, yeah, I definitely agree with that. You really, when you're caught in a corner, especially a financial sort of pickle, you really have to get creative to get out of that. Whereas, I mean, just look at what, I don't know if you've been keeping up with what Warner Brothers are up to these days. So they've had obviously issues with PR in terms of Amber Heard being remaining for a while on their payroll while Johnny Depp was fired off the same company. Yeah. And now they've got Ezra Miller, who plays the Flash in the DC movies, and he's also in Fantastic Beasts. Again, he's remained in these productions for up till very, very recently. And now all these things are coming out about him. And they still don't know what to do with these productions because they've spent so many millions into it, poured so many millions into these productions that do they cut their losses and say it's not coming out? Do they put it out anyway? Or do they spend that many millions more to swap out the actor or to reshoot these scenes? And the fact that that's even in question, the fact that they even have that money, that they can even debate that, because it's crazy, because you're only going to get some kind of stitched together version of what the original idea was supposed to be. So definitely with horror, I find that, a lot of the most creative horror movies that are stuck in our heads are, Blair Witch Project was shot on camcorders for next to nothing, or Wreck, or you've got a bunch of different films like that. Halloween was on a budget of like a couple, like 10,000, 30,000, something like that. And again, shot very similarly to how we're doing our film, which is, friends, brother-in-laws, cousins, bringing everybody in. Here's a boom pole, work out how to use it. And just kind of making do with what you've got and realizing that, you don't have to make things crash out of the sky to make people interested. In fact, the less removed from reality it is, quite often you tend to lose people in the audience. So kind of keeping it grounded and basic and on a really human perspective is the way to go, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. I would 100% agree with that. So when we talk about Hollywood movies and how they embellish the storyline, because the way I look at it is, I obviously spend. Oh yeah, welcome, Bill. Bill's he collects like horror movie props. Honestly,
oh wow,
his collection, honestly, Ben, in it is like beyond what you could imagine.
That's great.
It's amazing. He's got like masks from like Jason and stuff like that. Honestly, it's crazy. His collection is amazing.
You have to sort of take a standard house, double it, and that's everything he's got.
Wow. Okay. Fair play. I'm impressed when people have like the leather belt that Michael Myers wore, like in one scene, and the fact that he's got all these things, that's amazing. That's fair play. Well done.
He collects that. It's amazing. So when we talk about, I'm going to go from the paranormal perspective because that's what Ben specialises in. So say films like The Conjuring and Amityville, they are based around a true story, but they're very. With your movie Scopophobia, how did you get to the storyline? Have you tried to keep it quite original to what you sort of found out? Is it based on a true story?
So it's not based on a true story, but it really takes from the kind of the DNA of the place it's set. So even though Milton is a fictional town, there are a lot of towns and little villages, especially in rural Wales, just dotted here and there, that are basically factory towns or mill towns, which is why we've called this one Milton. And basically they are post-industrial towns. So the idea of, you build a factory somewhere, that brings jobs, that brings people, that brings homes. Factory goes under, or coal mines close, or whatever the external force is that puts a stop to those things, and basically you end up with a ghost town. There's quite often, if people have the money to do it, they will leave their homes if there's no longer any work there, because they can't sell it to anybody. So you really do end up with a ghost town, potentially in more sense than one, especially if you're thinking about how and why maybe those factories closed down in the first place. I was really intrigued by that idea.
Yeah, no, that sounds it like when you done the blurb at the beginning, it just sounded like I even saw Ben the Loose Face. They were all like, it was all like really gripped on when you were talking about it. It's like that's the sort of film that we would all sit down and watch, and then the show that's right up their street as well. I mean, what gave you the inspiration for that sort of storyline?
Really, I kind of started from the midpoint, which is essentially that there's someone in there with them and they know, as does the audience, hey, this is a horror movie. I know how horror movies go. This guy is going to kill us. He knows what we did, blah, blah, blah. And so I quite like the idea of taking that formula, taking that setup, and basically having these 4 girls in their 20s who are typically the ones that get cut apart in these movies, and basically making them stand their ground and assume, because of the guilt of what they feel and the paranoia of what they know they've done, that's who that person is. Have them stand their ground, kill that man, and find out that he wasn't a threat. He didn't know who they were. He wasn't going to kill them. But now, as it turns out, so beforehand, I've set it up with a lot of genre conventions that this is a horror movie. Turns out it actually wasn't. But because you believed it was, and because the characters believed it was, now we are in a horror movie, and a very different kind of one than we thought we were in. So now there's blood on their hands and they've got that to deal with, all because of the paranoia and the guilt of what they did wrong in the first place. So it's kind of about how you make that bad decision, you make that sort of that choice of evil instead of choice of good, and eventually it'll just grow and grow and grow until you kind of repent and kind of touch base and say, I was wrong, I shouldn't have done that, and kind of seek that forgiveness and redemption.
Crazy.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I'm like gobsmacked. I'm like, wow, like it's just great to see someone with a conventional idea. All these big films, they all follow the same sort of storyline. The ghost is evil.
Yeah.
That even if the ghost isn't evil, there's an evil ghost behind that ghost side, like the Conjuring.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Have that sort of conventional twist where it's actually the living that sort of prevail almost. What I mean?
Definitely. Well, I certainly kind of get put off by those ideas. That's why I wanted to kind of set up one thing and kind of have my cake and eat it too, really. Because when I like ghost stories that kind of do that, what you're saying, where people go into ghost stories, and the masses, the amount of money that these Conjuring movies made, and Insidious and those kind of movies, is phenomenal. So that's why these studios and companies keep pouring money into it, and that's why it works. It's a tried and tested formula. So I always like it when people take these formulas and set it up as if it's conventional, and then go, yeah, that's what you came for, but this is why you're going to watch this again. This is why you're going to stay for this franchise, is because we're going to do something different with it. Because my favorite ghost story movies are things like The Devil's Backbone, the Guillermo del Toro movie that he did before Pan's Labyrinth. That's fantastic, because that is, and the ghost is, obviously set up as a traditional horror movie ghost, but you find out that actually the ghost isn't haunting you, it's haunted. It's almost like it's stuck in a moment where it thinks, gosh, I should have done something differently, or gosh, I should have not trusted that person who made me the way I am. And I love also Guillermo del Toro's more recent one, Crimson Peak, which again sets itself up very gothic horror house kind of stuff. Typical sort of woman in a flowing dress for a ghost, and really kind of subverts expectations when you realize that, like you say, ghosts don't always have to be the villain of the piece. In fact, if a ghost has the need to come back and haunt an area or a person, quite often it's because they died in an unjust way. And so who's the real villain in that story in the first place? It's not the victim, is it? It's the suspect.
Yeah.
So and I'm a big fan of that. And there's a limit to what ghosts can do if we look at sort of mythology and folklore. So what real harm can they cause in that sense? Really, it's the people at our sides that you may not be able to trust. Those are the people that kind of lend themselves to being a more malicious villain. I love that kind of stuff in stories.
That's really cool you mentioned that. We always talk about that's Ben's little motto.
That's my grandma. To be fair, that's my grandma's motto.
Yeah,
it's not the dead that hurt you; it's the living.
Yeah, definitely.
Bill's agreeing with you. He said one thing more scary than the ghost would have to be the human. 100%. Big shout out to Bev along. Who else we got? And Justin. Big shout out to Justin. That's Jeanette. I mean, it's this. I love the setup of it. I love the twist. It's almost like to take it from a Hollywood movie, something like The Others with Nicole Kidman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another great one. Another really great one.
That mad twist at the end, it just got everybody. When you first film, you got to the end of it and you was like, oh, so it was, right, okay, now I get it. And
it makes you want to rewatch the whole thing with that new lens, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing. It makes you want to, you go, right, if I rewatch this now from the perspective of what I see at the end, the whole movie changes.
Yeah.
So it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Now, something that me and Ben and Lou always talk about on the show, I want to get your perspective on it, is how Hollywood is making paranormal more acceptable. Now, if you go back 40, 50 years, if you mentioned that you see ghosts or you was a demonologist or that, you was normally dunked or burned at the stake.
Yeah.
But since it's been coming out and we've got all these new films and all these new sort of TV programs, it's become more acceptable. So I wanted to know your take on that. Like, how do you feel like it's become more acceptable?
Yeah, do you know what? That's an interesting point, actually. I haven't really thought about it, but you're spot on the money there. Yeah, you're right, because it wasn't so long ago that, even just an outspoken woman could be put in an asylum by her husband as if she was, his property. Children, people who are too right-leaning, too left-leaning in a political state of the opposite party could be put in these places. And so, well, that lends itself to a really cool horror story in itself. I'm sure there's some really tortured ghosts in those places who feel angry and unjustly kind of put there. So that's an interesting one. Maybe I'll keep that. I'll be back on the show next year talking about my new asylum movie.
If you want a villain for a film, no one's ever done this, but make a secret villain and make it like a tax man or something at the end. No one ever has a tax man. It's like a villain.
But everyone's scared of him. So that's great. Yeah, exactly.
Or the guy that bangs on the door with the TV license people.
TV license man, yeah. I like that. Yeah, like a really twisted version of the cable guy. That wasn't twisted enough. But to answer your question, you're quite right there, because I feel like the more grounded and real the film is, even these sort of studio movies, like the A24 horrors or the Conjuring movies and things like that. I mean, they're really getting to be closer to these Blumhouse and other production companies that are much smaller, Monkey Paw with Jordan Peele. They're really kind of marrying this middle ground. So it's almost high budget indie making and low budget studio filmmaking. And they're kind of marrying in the middle, and that's basically where horror sits. And I feel like it sits there because people are working out that that the best way to scare someone is to make someone feel like, oh, that's my house. Or, oh, I know that person. Yeah, that's the guy. I know these people. They're much like the people I spend my days with, or that place is much like kind of place I go to work or the place I live. And so the more human you make it and the more real and grounded you kind of make those things, the more you can sort of let your imagination believe that these things are real. And so, yeah, I definitely, think that now that you mentioned it, that now that Hollywood has found its way down and indie horror has found its way up, and we found this little middle ground that allows for budget to make these ghosts realistic or these monsters realistic with the money that they have, but also doesn't spend too much on or still gives themselves those creative corners that to sort of creatively find their way out of. It's led to a kind of really interesting middle ground where it's realistic enough special effects with down to earth enough practicality. Yeah, I definitely think so.
100% agree with that. Yeah. Don't get, if you have any questions for Aled, stick it up there in the chat. We'll ask him. We did do a quick fire question, so I bet you any money someone's going to ask you that anyway. So I just need to open myself before.
That's fine. Yeah, bring it on.
Only on for the next 10 minutes as well, guys, because he's got to shoot to do some other stuff. So
yeah,
we will no doubt have you back on the show at some point.
That would be great. Yeah, hopefully when the whole thing's finished, I'll be able to come back on and we can talk about it, and then people can go straight on to Amazon or wherever it ends up and give it a watch. That'd be great.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, as soon as that comes out, when I get 5 minutes, well, more than 5 minutes, but when I get to time, man, it's suckered me in just with the first bit, and I'm just like, brilliant. I mean, the storyline itself is so capturing. Like, it's
great.
And
I'm glad.
You look forward to like these smaller productions, not to sort of say like, it's not going to be as good as the Hollywood productions, because 9 times out of 10, like I said to you, the storyline is more compelling. Whereas the Hollywood, they sort of stay to these sort of how do you put it? These sort of trending sort of ways. Like me and Ben have it all the time. The Conjuring come out, Conjuring 2 come out. The demon that was in it was what was his name, Ben? I can't think of it off the top of my head. The nun thing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and then they did the spin-off from that one, from the second one right into there. Yeah,
they're bringing a second one of that out as well.
Are they? Nun 2?
Yeah, the Nun 2.
Okay.
It's like, come on, please. Stop flogging the dead horse.
And you could say that about all genres, really. I mean, they're so reliant on what they know makes money. And again, you can't really blame them, because people show up, people keep paying for it, and depending on the franchise, I think we're all sort of the culprit there. But where's the risk of where's the risk of creativity? Where's the risk of this story when I read it, this story when I heard it captured me, and if it had that effect on you, then you need to put your heart into it and put your trust in it, that it'll have that same effect on at least somebody else in the world. It's bound to, surely.
Yeah, it's just how films are like the best sort of like demonologist film I've seen in a very long time is a film called The Rite, which is on Netflix, and it was a low budget film.
Anthony Hopkins, right?
No, it's a different one from that.
Oh, a different, right? Okay.
It's a new one. But because it is a new one and a different title, it's overlooked. But it's such a good film. Yeah.
It's funny, the rom-com genre kind of fell out of cinema's graces, but it's found its place on streamers, and unfortunately, because of the fact that Netflix and companies like that have found like, people quite like coming to us for sort of cozy sofa watching rom-coms, they make a lot more of them, and it's unfortunately become a little bit quantity over quality these days. But people find ebbs and flows in patterns of what's popular and where you have the demographic that watches your things and how they watch television and movies. So like you say, Netflix will pick up these odd little projects that maybe TV networks don't want, or big studios don't want. Midnight Mass, Stranger Things, these are things that Netflix have found a home for, and people love just devouring them in a day, and it's great. In fact, Dark is probably one of the best things on Netflix, in my opinion, and that's one of the best things they put out there. I don't know if you've seen the German show Dark. But that's fantastic. And you talk about, setting up a genre and just kind of letting it take you on twists and turns and unfolding itself in 100 different directions, and it's still feeling cohesive, like they had a plan the whole time. That's amazing. 3 seasons, it's complete, it's finished, and they didn't want to do any more. That was the story they wanted to tell. I really recommend that. Dark on Netflix.
That's what films don't do now. They always try and roll with stuff. They don't know when to cut it clean.
Yeah.
The biggest insult I've got met it, I know it's completely off paranormal in a sense, but with District 9, the UFO, they're making a second one. There doesn't need to be a second one. You made
and especially after so many years, it's just painfully obvious that it's not so much that it was asking for a continuation, or even that they were cashing in on how popular it was, because they've kind of gone, right, we've run out of things to make sequels of, that we have the IP. What do we have from 15 years ago? So yeah, and I'm a big District 9 fan. But unfortunately, there's.
I don't even know what that is. How bad am I?
Watch District 9. It is the best UFO sort of alien film.
Oh, is that the one about the aliens set in South Africa?
That's it, yeah.
Again, a low-budget film, wasn't it? It was a really low-budget film, but it was done brilliantly. This is the thing with low-budget films. They can be filmed brilliantly because you don't have the restrictions of Hollywood. You need to do this because this sells. You could open up the idea.
Yeah, and you watch interviews or behind the scenes of any sort of old Scorsese film, Spielberg film. There's a great horror thriller called Duel, which was the first thing that Spielberg directed, and you can really see the footprint of what will become Jaws, the ideas that he'll put into Jaws. And Duel is just about a guy driving his car, and this big truck is having a bit of road rage, and you never see the truck driver's face, but this car is just trying to drive from A to B, and this truck just keeps cutting him off and not letting him pass and bullying him on the road, and it becomes this amazing, massive horror movie where you're paranoid about who this guy is. And you end up in these truck stops, and he goes to the toilet and he thinks he's safe. When he comes back, the truck's parked outside, so one of the people in there is the driver. It's great. And again, it's 2 guys in broad daylight driving on a road. It can't get simpler than that, and yet it's all about how you shoot it, how you time it, how the music, how you act it. So with those confines of not having money, you really find that you have to be creative, and if your film is a horror film, then you find ways of being scarier than Hollywood does, mainly because Hollywood doesn't need to find creative ways to do it. They've got the money to create ugly creatures, or they've got the money to put loud bangs when you're supposed to jump and be scared. So it's it definitely helps to have limitations in that way.
We had it with the Evil Dead franchise as well.
Evil Dead. Evil Dead's another great one, where it's sort of you can see the sort of rough around the edges frames. You can see that they don't have money when they're making it, but you really don't care because there's a tongue-in-cheek sort of humor about it. You can tell that they love the genre. It's great.
Just a quick question from Wild Bill. He says, "What do you think about the fan tribute horror movies?" And Jan's just saying you're super epic, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jan. So to answer Bill's question, what do I think about the fan horror movies? So for anybody who isn't aware of what those are, they're basically you sort of take pre-existing IP like Batman or The Conjuring or whatever, and you make a sort of short film, usually of that, as if you were hired to make it. But basically the idea is, if you don't make money off it, you're allowed to make the project with other people's IP. If you're going to make any sort of money off it, then obviously you're in violation of copyright. So fan films, I mean, you know what, any sort of films, I'm like, if you've got the means to make it. I think that's basically how this project came about. When we were going into and coming out of film school, a lot of people I knew were making sort of just 1 room, 2 characters short films. I definitely think there's a plus with fan films. There's a great fan film for Uncharted, the games, the PS4 games, Uncharted, with Nathan Fillion, who is the actor from Castle, and he's in Guardians of the Galaxy, and he is the guy that everybody wanted to play Nathan Drake. And yet the studio picked Tom Holland and wanted to kind of do that thing with it and make him younger and stuff, which is fine. But basically, this guy went out and he, he'd worked on a few things and he had access to these actors, and he went out and he made a short Uncharted film that felt way more like the games do than the film they eventually made did. So what the good thing about fan films is you've got IP that means that you put it out there and you have an audience already. It's a fraction of what the audience of the actual IP probably is, but you have an audience there. The other good thing about it is, especially if it's a short film, people are way more willing to watch 5 minutes, 10 minutes on YouTube than they are to track down 2 hours of something they don't know they're going to like or not on Netflix, Amazon, or especially rent it. That's not going to happen in most cases. So that's the benefit of fan film. The downside is obviously if you make any sort of money, even if you switch advertising on your YouTube channel, any sort of thing like that, you're in violation of copyright and you're basically in the shadow of these big companies that will not hesitate. So as long as you stay on the right line, that should be fine. And obviously the downside then is you're missing out on maybe an opportunity of creating your own IP. You've obviously got the means and the creativity and the talent to make a film. So if you make that film literally your own, like 100% your own, if you like The Conjuring, but I guess The Conjuring isn't IP as so much as it's based on a true story. But if you like, let's say Batman, there's a lot of Batman fan films out there. If you like those characters, change people's names, change people's appearances, change people's powers, change the name of the place that it's set. Basically, color it a different color, and you've got something that is for Batman fans without being Batman. And then if people like your idea, they can pay you for that. They'll never pay you for the idea of what you put out on the internet because it's their idea in the first place, and you put it out there for everyone to see. But if you make a short film and you've changed all the names and you've made it your own, and they like it, and they want to give you a movie deal, then that's your IP, and you can claim that. So pros and cons, definitely, yeah.
Definitely, man. So it's one of the things. Like, the movie world itself, it's something that I'll never understand because I've never actually got into it. I love watching movies. I'd rather watch a movie than watch EastEnders. I can't soaps and dramas and that. I'd rather sit there and watch a movie.
Too close to real life for you, EastEnders.
Yeah, so funny. It's like one of the most underrated horror films that I think as well that people overlook is that the M. Night Shyamalan movie, The Village.
Yes.
That's another one that's got that sort of mad twist in it, like your film has.
Yeah,
I just think, like you said, the lower production ones are so much better. I mean, if anyone wants to sort of get a hold of you or wants like a preview or anything like that, how would they do that?
Yeah, so we're on Instagram at Melyn Pictures. That's MELYN Pictures. We're also on Facebook at Scopophobia Movie and on Twitter at Scopophobia Film. So yeah, just they're quite similar enough and different enough that you might forget. So I'll go through those again. At Melyn Pictures on Instagram, MELYN Pictures. At Scopophobia Movie on Facebook and at Scopophobia Film on Twitter. But if you forget that, our website is www.melynpictures.com. Really nice and simple, melynpictures.com, MELYN. So fun link with horror. Melyn is the Welsh word for yellow, and we named our company basically Yellow Pictures in Welsh because my favorite genre of horror movies, and this is a recommendation for anyone who likes horror movies who are looking for something a bit different and still feels like classic horror, the Giallo movies of Italy. You asked me before we came on the show that what my favorite horror movie was, and it's Opera from 1987. Dario Argento movie, and they basically in Italy, especially after the Second World War, a lot of these yellow paperbacks were really popular, and they were quite often sort of translations of Agatha Christie, and sometimes it was got a bit more slashery, but they were sort of yellow paperbacks that they called giallo, which was sort of thriller horror stories. And then in the sort of 70s, 80s, they started to adapt some of these and even make up their own within that genre, and so they called them giallo movies, which is Italian for yellow. So that's why we decided to call our Welsh horror movies Melon Pictures. But yeah, check out giallo movies; those are great, especially Opera and Suspiria.
That's
Lou's already putting links up.
Great.
So guys,
Brilliant.
I'll make sure you go on our page, check out all the links there. I don't know if Aled's put up any sort of previews of the movie yet or not, but
there's a couple of teasers and there's a 5-minute scene, so they're all on Instagram.
Ooh, you know what I'll be doing after the show.
Brilliant.
I'm gonna go check them out. Seriously,
Don't worry, I'm not going to send him over the link that you sent Bob with that 45-minute cut. He can.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah. So we've been kind of holding that off for investors and basically anyone who's sort of interested in seeing the 45-minute version. So if someone out there fancies checking us a couple, Bob, and want to see that before they do, just contact us. There's an email address, info@melonpictures.com. You can find that on the Melon Pictures website. So get in touch with us. We're on Instagram and Facebook and stuff too. So you can, if you want to find us, I'm sure you'll be able to find us.
Yeah, man. At the end of the day, guys, if you're out there and you know somebody like an investor or anything like that, get hold of Aled. Trust me, get on this one. I've got a gut feeling that this is going to go big.
Thank you very much.
The show before that have sat there and they've sort of explained what they do and stuff like that. And it's nice to have someone that's genuinely, you can just tell that what you do is your passion.
Definitely, yeah. And I think anybody who's making fan films or low budget films or short films or anything on this sort of terrain here, where you just haven't got money, but whatever you do have, you're willing to put into it, or you're willing to go knocking on doors and do the embarrassing thing of going, hey, I hate to do this. I wish I had the money, but could you give us some so that we can make these films? Those are powered by and fueled by passion and just chasing those ambitions 100%. There's no way that anything would get made if we didn't have that passion. So thanks for having me on, and thanks for letting me kind of plead my case and talk about movies and talk about horror. I love it. I'm having a great time.
No, man, honestly, anytime. Open door policy, man. I mean, I'm taking a break from the show for a little while, but Ben is running it. I'm sure Ben will have you back on the show. It's an open door policy, man. When you start getting that bit of filming done a little bit more, and you want to do a bit more advertising and stick out there, just give Ben a message or me a message and come on, talk about it. It's like I said, it's nice to have someone who's very passionate about what they do. It's completely like we've never had a talk about or had someone on that's sort of in the movie sort of thing and talk about it. So it's been an absolutely fantastic conversation.
Oh well, thank you very much, and I can't really take all the credit for the passion, because honestly, my whole crew, my whole cast, we do pay them, but we pay them basically as little as we can get away with, as much as we can afford. So honestly, my whole cast and crew, my producer Tom Rawding, special effects artist Ellie Baldwin, everybody who's working on it has so much talent, and they're willing to give us that, and it's honestly it makes my heart swell that people are so willing to come on board with my passion project and make it their own passion project too. So honestly, I'm very lucky, and thank you to everybody out there who
get everyone on
the film.
We'll get everyone on once the film's out, or we'll get everyone back on for us to talk about it.
That'd be great. Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, brilliant.
Cool. Thank you for coming on again, Aled. I know that you've got stuff to do.
Thank you very much.
Time out your day to come and talk to us, and it's been an absolute honor and a pleasure to have you on the show.
Me too. I'd love to come back when you'll have me, so I'll get in touch. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks, guys.
Take care, Aled. See you soon.
See you later, everybody.
Bye. All right, let's change this up, guys. What can I say? What an interview! Like that was. Joe, like it's nice to meet somebody who is as passionate about what they do as we are what we do.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds a bit hypocritical, as I said, I'm taking a break from a little while, but that's just due to like my personal situation and work and that. But this has always been a massive passion. To meet somebody as passionate as we are in what he does, it's like a breath of fresh air on the show.
It's been a nice change.
It has, and you know what? some of the questions that I asked there as well, to get the answers that he's given, it's sort of solidified it for me that these lower paid budget sort of movies are where you have that creative flair, able to sit there and not have these sort of restrictions that you have on these Hollywood movies. They're able to just go out there and create something. It just shows that the amateur, the budget stuff, it's just better.
It's like there's like going into obviously paranormal films. There's a film called Exist, and if you're a Bigfoot fan, go watch this film because it's brilliant. The whole thing was filmed off GoPros.
Sick.
And it's just all round a brilliant film.
There's
no high budget. There's no massive effects or anything like that. Honestly, go watch it. It's a pretty amazing film.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's crazy, man. Honestly, Scopophobia, guys, make sure you go and check it out. Links have just gone into the chat. Louise has put links in the chat for us, guys. Go and check it out. Bill's saying great guest. Big shout out to Jeanette saying that was great. Big props going out to Ben. He sorted that one out, and it was an amazing interview. It really was an amazing interview. So, guys and girls out there. So, as we know, this is my last show for a little while. I'll be taking a break due to work. I'm hoping to come back sometime soon if my work is down. But yeah, I mean, Ben and Lou are going to be taking over, so you're in the good hands. So don't worry about that. So big shout out to Kate. I forgot to give you a shout out because Ali was talking. Actually, one in the chat. We hit an all-time record on that one because at one point we had 18, and that's a new record for us for actual live listeners.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious to see what the sort of numbers clock up once this goes out and people rewatch it back. Because honestly, it's just crazy. I mean, look at the responses. Wild Bill saying great guest. Jeanette saying that was great. Kate saying it's awesome. Natasha says that was a fantastic interview. I look forward to seeing the film. Me too. Like it's filmed in on our back door. You gotta love. I love any sort of UK based horror film.
Yeah.
Where it's one of the big ones
is
it's
not a foreign film just because it's in Wales.
It is on
Sound like you just said like UK based horror films, like foreign films.
Oh right. I mean, a good example of one is like When the Lights Go Out. Have you seen When the Lights Go Out? The one about the Pontefract poltergeist. That's an amazing film. Shot on a budget. It's fantastic. Yeah. So, wow. How do you follow up on that? What do we talk about now? I have no idea.
I thought you might about that one.
Yeah, that's a nice one to finish off. Like to go into this break. Like it's nice. I really, really enjoyed that. We should have done. We should have got that medium on, the one who spoke to your nan and your other nan. We should have got him on.
Oh, hey, we've got someone else coming in.
Who's that? Oh, is it Bill? Oh, I knew it would be. I knew. Hold on. Oh. There he is, the man of the hour, the myth, the man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah. I heard how you said that at the beginning. Don't be trying to don't try to sugarcoat it now. Who is it? I can always leave. There's no problem. I just thought I would. I thought I would just show how good of a guest that other person really was by showing me.
No
problem.
Interview, amazing interview.
He was fantastic. I would really love just to sit and talk to him because I love people who can talk horror.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I wouldn't know why that would be, Bill. I don't know why you're obsessed with horror.
I guess it's because I can't stand it.
Yeah. You don't have anything that resembles horror.
I hate horror, and I hate anything that has to do with horror.
Yeah.
I'm scared of horror, you know. These things you see around me are comedy. These are comedic items.
Oh no, it's nice to have you on, Bill. It's nice to have you on.
It's been so long, guys. I've been having to catch y'all shows on rewind.
Yeah.
And that's not fun for me when I can't comment at the moment. Because I will comment and all of a sudden realize, hey, that was 3 days ago, you know?
Jerry,
You're right. Hey, what can I say? I come on to keep them humble.
So, Bill, in all seriousness,
with who is to keep me humble? I'm sorry, Damon. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
With the guy we just spoke to, do you agree with him when he talks about like the lower budget films being able to be more creative when it comes to?
Man, I love the. I made a comment in there that some of the low budget films can sometimes be the best.
Yeah.
I'm not too great. Okay, Blair Witch Project. Okay, fine. I'll go with it. It was okay for the people who like that kind of thing. For me, it just wasn't in depth enough or scary enough.
Yeah.
That Blair Witch Project. I do that on Friday afternoons, just going for a walk.
For those that are watching or going to be watching back and looking, this is the first time you've seen Wild Bill. Wild Bill is basically our version of and he's going to hate me for this, but like the elderly man that sits in the corner at the bar with his pint. Yeah. And as soon as he stands up, everyone just shuts up and waits to hear what he's got to say.
100%. Yeah.
Whether it be words of wisdom or just something off the wall that has nothing to do with what the people are even talking about. I think the reason why they go quiet is not because they're really, they're interested on what I'm going to say, but it's more like, what the hell is he going to say now?
Yeah, I agree.
That's more like it, Is that a new look, Ben?
No, I launch a pillar at the dog and she stops barking. She knows it's coming towards us, so she stops barking.
Oh, okay.
I love the way you started the show off, Ben, saying when we was backstage, saying you have all care for animals, like everything stops when an animal's hurt, and then he's holding and threatening a dog with a pillow.
I do. When she's doing nothing but barking,
I like the part earlier where he was muzzling her with his hand, and then just to keep quiet, cramming his hand in its mouth so it could chew on it and not bark. That is really. Wait until I talk to PETA. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to talk to PETA. I'm going to send PETA over to England. Is what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you think of that horror film then, Bill? What do you reckon? It's going to be a good film?
Well, see, I didn't come in at the beginning. I lost a lot of it. I don't know what kind of horror film he's talking about. I understand he's doing a horror film.
Yeah.
That's about where it stands.
He was talking about. It's called. Is it Scopophobia? Yeah, and it's basically.
Scopophobia.
Have I done it wrong here?
I hope so, because just the word soccer would keep me away from it. It's not because I don't like soccer. I am not a sport person. And when you have basketball Jones, soccer this or that, to me, it has a sport influence on it. And at that point, that is a movie. I don't care how scary or butchery and slasher it is. I won't watch it because I just don't. I don't do sports. I don't do sports. My form of sports over here in the U.S., they've made it illegal.
That can be taken so many ways.
Why should you come laughing?
Well, I'll put it like this. Here, just to kind of give you a little, there's this area down in a certain city. It's a bad area. A lot of drug dealing and all this.
Yeah.
And it's very, very nice. Got a hill and all this. Long, about 1,000-yard hill.
Uh-huh.
And at the top of this hill, I had a deer stand. Now, this is downtown now. This is there are no woods or nothing, okay? This is all buildings and businesses and apartments and all that. But if you look down this one road where my deer stand was, you had this cluster of payphones. And you know what a payphone is, right? We don't have the little covers over them like Doctor Who and all that. We just had little posts sticking up out of the ground with little covers and phones in it.
Yeah.
Anyways, there would be about 6 phones down there. And between these phones, each one, there was maybe about a 4-inch gap, okay? Standing,
We're going to get arrested in a minute.
standing down at these phones, you have these people with beepers on. Okay, pagers, beepers, you know.
Yeah.
And at certain times, you could get just the right. You could just right. But then they took my dare stand down and told me I couldn't do it no more. They said it was against the law. Had something to do with some criminal code or something like that. And that I could possibly go to jail for doing it. And you know, it kind of hurt my feelings. It really did. So since then, I just really haven't had no sport that I really like. Now I do like golf. That's mental therapy, you know. Where can you go out, get pissed off, and go smash the hell out of something? That's fun. Oh, now, you could do whether or not do I get it to the hole, that's a different question. But going out and hitting that ball with my son, I love it. That's mental therapy for me. It really is. I don't care. I mean, like they always say, a bad day at golf is better than any good day at work.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you could always, if you like to take your frustrations out, Bill, you could always go to the kids' party and sabotage the pinatas, or even, I don't know, buy yourself.
I got kicked out.
Why am I not surprised?
The other dimension would like to state that we do not rig pinatas for children's parties.
And we don't go to pay boots either.
Oh,
the other dimension would like to say we do not, yeah, whatever I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. That little thing they always say, you know, we do not condone what this guest is saying, you know. And
yeah, Bill has enough to do with us. Playing with you.
Yeah, I love playing with my balls. I do. Speaking of playing with my balls,
I'm going on a break and you're going to end up with like a week's ban before you even start.
Just some of his comments are getting even better. Ripping carpet gets your frustration out.
Yeah. Anyone with any more?
I love ripping up carpets.
Anyone for more suggestions for Bill to get his frustration out, other than a sort of a golf? I was going to say like an old gentleman's sport. Yeah.
If you really ever want to learn about golf, what you do is go to YouTube, pull up Robin Williams, him talking about golf. It's so good. I mean, it's the origin of golf. And of course, it's from Scotland, so he's got his Scottish accent going because he's a real good friend with what's that Scotsman, that comedian who does
Billy Connolly.
That's him, Angry Scotsman.
Yeah.
You know, right? He's a good friend with him. He used to go over and once a year and visit him. Conley, he did. But anyway, you got to watch that though, because it's so funny because they talk about it, you know. And have you two ever heard it? Robin Williams talk about golf?
No.
When this is over, you got to go watch that. I mean, he talks about this guy coming up with the game of golf. He's talking and everything, and talks about, you know, because they said, sort of like pool or something, you know, or sort of like croquet.
Yeah.
No, you know, and he'll talk about, you know, say, well, you want to have one hole that you're going to have to hit to one hole. I'm going to put 18 out there and put things around it, you know, and then I mean, and he comes up with, you know, like how when you swing, it's a stroke. He says, yeah, you get out there and you've got this crooked little stick and you're swinging at the ball, and each time you swing, you're having a stroke. That's what we'll call it. A stroke. You know, you got to listen to it. It's really great. But anyway, we went off the deep end on that one, didn't we? Now we're on sports. But anyways, sorry about that, guys. Like I said, with me, anything can happen.
A suggestion for you, Bill, to get your frustrations out. Jan's asked about yodeling. Can you yodel?
Man, yodeling, that's like me singing. It sounds like two cats in a blender.
Matt's put, what have I tuned into? Laugh at that.
Hey, Who knows? You never know.
Darts is a sport. It's classed as a sport.
I play darts. I do play darts. I do. I really do.
We call them arrows in London. We don't call them darts.
So what do you call an arrow?
A
We
dart.
call an arrow a bolt. An arrow. Yeah. What do you call an arrow then? If a dart is an arrow, what is an arrow?
A dart.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Boom. That's a dart.
Yeah, that's a dart. Yeah.
This one is a arrow.
That's an arrow. Yeah.
And man, I always knew the British were fucked up. I'm sorry. I did not mean to say that. But I did, but not out loud. Sometimes I think out loud.
It's not just the British. It's people from London, from East London. It's just when you were like, I used to play in a darts league with my dad and my brother, and we never used to say that it wasn't called a darts league. It was called an arrows league. And used to go and play arrows.
Okay, whoa. You are on a darts league. Now, you were out in the fields with bow and arrow, right?
No. It was an arrows league. We was in the pub with arrows.
Oh, no, that's not. No, oh, God. All right, we're in the pub. We are throwing these little items with needles on the end of them.
Yeah, arrows.
Put it this way, people in Essex, where Damon lives, and down south, they think things are bigger than they actually are.
That's true.
Tell them to get rid of that damn magnifying glass.
No, he's talking about a time, right? We
hell, before I got married, when I got
right, and we were in the town centre, and a tractor went past. I've never seen a tractor this big in my life, and Ben was like, "That's normal." You got to remember, I grew up in East London. I grew up in a city, so I've not seen tractors like that before.
You think what we call lawnmowers is a tractor?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
we call those lawnmowers.
Yeah.
If it cannot jerk a house off its foundation, it is not a tractor.
Right, oh, this is a proper tractor. This could rip her.
It could take a house off its foundation. Good.
Yeah, this is one of the 14, 18 ton tractors.
See, I know, like, you have tractors and then you have combine harvesters. But
no, you got lawnmowers, then you have tractors, then you have really big tractors.
Yeah.
A combine would be a really big tractor, or a combine. You would call it, now see, that one you would call a combine. Who are you talking to? Ben, are you a cowboy?
No,
I'm not.
David, are you a cowboy?
Not far from it.
Now me, I was until the Urban Cowboy came out.
Cowboy.
When John Revolting came out with the Urban Cowboy, I hung up all my Western gear. But yes, before Urban Cowboy came out, I have ridden buffalo. I have ridden bulls.
Mm-hmm.
I have ridden horses. I have ridden donkeys. No, jackasses. What were they? I can't remember. But anyways, I've ridden a pig. But have I? Yes, ma'am. I would say I was once a cowboy. Yes. I mean, if you saw me, I mean, I wore a long coat, which we call a duster over here. Mm-hmm. And you would have never seen me without my Stetson, which I've got in the other room, matter of fact, Stetson. I still own 3 different pairs of Western boots for the occasion.
Yeah.
I still, hey, let's put it like this. Save a horse, ride a cowboy.
I think Jan's on a bit of a wind up anyway.
Let me clear you up.
Oh no, it's cool though. It is cool when you think about it. Like just how different where you grow up in different places in the world. You just you just have these different things. Like I call things differently. Ben calls things. You call them whatever you fancy at the time. Do you know what I mean?
You know, just because I call it a lollipop and it's really a blowtorch don't mean nothing.
Yeah. Just don't put your tongue on it.
Kind of warm. But let's get on it. Now, here's the best one. Here's the best one I love out of everything, all this. And even y'all have arguments about it between yourself.
Yep.
A cob and a batch.
No, it's a roll.
Okay, first off, a cob comes on corn.
Yeah, that's exactly.
A batch is making something a batch, like you're going to make.
It's not batch, it's bat.
No, I've also heard batch too.
I've not heard batch, but
it depends on what part of the UK you're talking to.
Cob, roll.
I mean, y'all have got more different thoughts and accents and way y'all talk than we do over here in the United States. I mean, you can move one township over, and they call things completely different, and their accents is completely different.
I mean, think about it this way, right? What sounds
they are called? But real quick, they are called rolls. ROLLS. Rolls.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's when you get like a French stick. That is a roll.
No,
it's a little small dinner. That's what they call a dinner roll. See, there's different types of rolls. You have dinner rolls.
A cob is round.
You have hoagie rolls. You know.
Here we bloody go.
That's right. You know. But, I mean, you know. And then there again, now, what do y'all call a biscuit?
A biscuit.
A cookie.
Yeah, a biscuit.
We call a cookie.
It's a cookie. No,
it's a cookie. A biscuit is bread that you eat for biscuit is bread that you eat for breakfast.
Cookie is a cookie. A cookie has chocolate bits in it. It is a cookie. A biscuit, like a digestive biscuit, is a biscuit.
Biscuit is just bread.
No,
that's just, a biscuit is just breakfast bread that you can either put butter and jam in or honey, or you can tear up and put gravy on top of. That's a biscuit, and you eat with eggs and ham. Hobnob. Okay.
Hobnob.
Like I say, he must be UK.
No, hobnobs are made out of oats.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, hold on. I'm really confused here. So you have bread in the morning, right? And you call it a biscuit.
Well, we also have loaf bread too, like a big loaf of bread that we cut and you put into a toaster. We call that toast. We also have that for breakfast.
This is where you make it. This is where you make it difficult yourself. You call it a loaf bread. We just call it a loaf or a bloomer.
There's a comedian out there though that says this, that with no disrespect to you, but when it comes to like British things, like we call a pavement.
Yeah,
they call it a sidewalk. So they know they have to walk on the side.
Well, see, there's a reason we call that, because we call the road is pavement.
Well, no, the road's a road.
Usually the sidewalk is concrete. Pavement is a product over here.
We call it
asphalt. It's an asphalt-based product. That's what pavement is.
Oh,
our roads. That black cover on the road that you're riding on top of. That is pavement.
That's tarmac.
No, it's pavement. That's pavement.
Tarmac.
What's on the sidewalk? What's on the sidewalk is concrete, and that is a sidewalk. That is for pedestrians only. No motorized vehicles, no bicycles can be on that. Only people walking. That is a sidewalk. That keeps you off the pavement in the road, where you can get hit by a car. You know what a car is, right? Y'all do have those over there. That's a big things that if they hit you, they can kill you.
We call them an automobile.
We call them an automobile over here too, but usually we call them. Usually most people know it's a vehicle or automobile. They just specialize on, is it a car, a truck, or an SUV?
See, we don't have that. We just have cars or trucks, lorries.
Yeah, we just have cars, vans, and trucks.
I think I said something earlier before that almost got me in trouble. I'm thinking it again.
We love you, Bill. You know we do. We love you.
Oh, Kate's put you're gonna have fun in the US because she's moving over there. That's gonna be fun for you. Where was that?
Okay. Look, just remember this: when you come over here to the US, we drive on the right side of the road, which is the right.
The wrong.
Not the wrong side of the road like the UK does, which is the left. So, just remember, drive on that right-hand side. As long as you stay, unless if it's a one-way street, then you can take either lane you want.
At the end of the day, right, I get there's different dialects out there, but I think with the US, I think they just overcomplicate things a little bit too much. Like,
no, we don't overcomplicate them. We just do them correctly.
Oh, okay. So let's put it like this. So when you get up in the morning, the first thing you put on is your boxer shorts or your pants, right? And then over the top of that, you put your trousers.
First thing I put on is coffee.
Yeah, but you guys put your pants over your pants.
No, I put my pants over my underwear.
See, this is it. This is where it goes. I don't know.
And some women call them knickers or bloomers. Hey.
Yeah, we got knickers. Yeah, we got knickers, but men wear pants.
Knicker is the same thing. I mean, do you wear knickers?
Sometimes, only on a Sunday, Bill.
See, for us over here, knickers is female.
Yeah, we will.
And no, I don't wear knickers. Believe me, I love the feel of satin, but I do not wear knickers. I wear men's underwear.
And that's the other thing, right? Yeah, we have one of them things that go across the front of us. We call it a bum bag. You guys call it a fanny pack.
No, we call it. Oh, you talking about? Oh, I thought we were still on the underwear. I call that a fly. What do you call it? But we're not on the underwear. Now we're talking about when you're out walking around at the flea market or festival, and you got this pouch around your what do we call it over here?
A fanny pack.
No, we call it lost in time because we haven't seen those things over here in about 20 years. Not many people wear fanny packs anymore, and if they do wear fanny packs, usually there's drool coming down.
Phil?
Sometimes they might have. I'm sorry, but
Phil?
No, to each their own. I don't wear one, but to each their own.
Lou wears one to go take the dog.
I think because
I've seen her drool. I've seen her drool a few times.
Yeah, because I can put the treats in. I can put her poop bags in. I can put
You're using that as a caddy for the dog to keep the poo-poo bags in and stuff like that. No, that's good. That. I'm talking about
picking up back to just put it on my waist, and I've got hands free then.
Well, I'm talking about the people like me who wear them, that they keep their wallet in it, their telephone, and then in the back pouch they got a Glock 45 fully loaded, ready to go.
Well, that's a handbag, isn't it?
I mean, huh? But see, I stopped wearing the fanny pack because, believe me, over here the fanny pack did go out of style. They are coming back, though. I will say that they are coming back.
Phil, this is what's called pulling yourself out of the hole.
Matter of fact, Louis Vuitton even came out with a new one this year. So they are coming back. But yeah, I wear the military cross bag that you wear across your shoulder. That's the one I wear. Which is basically like a fanny pack. That's basically like how some people wear fanny packs, and instead of putting them around the waist, they'll open it up and they'll put it around their shoulders.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Shopping belt.
But see, I wear the cross pouch thing, but I ain't got it in here with me. But mine's a military bag.
Wear it like the old shopping belts, don't you?
Right. But it's a bigger bag. I can keep my Glock in it. I can keep my weapon in it, my phone, my all my goodies. It's like a man bag. I had a satchel. That I used to carry my stuff in, like my Bible and holy water and all that kind of stuff, along with other stuff. Do what?
Bill, what in America, right? What are the Coke cans made of?
Aluminum. What are yours made out of?
Aluminium.
Aluminium.
I know y'all call it aluminium. We call it aluminum.
This is the point. Like, we say it how it's spelled.
No, you spell it. You look at it. Can also say aluminum.
I love it. I love the differences. It's
okay. What do you call the thing that you put into? Here's another good one. Now this is for y'all. I'm doing this for y'all. What do you put inside of your torch?
Batteries.
What is it?
Batteries.
Okay, that's close enough, I guess. Over here, most everybody over here. Now I've got to do this one. I've got to think about this one to do it because I don't do it that way. Battery.
Battery, yeah.
They call it, no, they call it, no, they call it, see, you got kind of that weird lisp. But anyways, over here, they just go battery. They make sure they put those 2 T's in there. And
Battery.
see, now me, the way I say it more like y'all do, without the lisp.
You put more than one battery in, so you put in batteries.
Well, no, that's not what I'm talking about. They say battery or batteries.
You know about stress on the
Oh no!
where we come from, T's don't exist in the.
And see, and the way I do it, the way I say it is more like y'all without the list. I say battery.
Yeah, battery.
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 Yeah, battery.
There's no
You got-
T's.
Consideration, right? That I'm from London, so we don't like we say water. We don't say water. We say water.
Well,
We
see,
say
we do say. See over here, we say agua.
Agua. Even Matt said it there. Look, that's just Damon talking. It is. No, I had this. There's an American guy at work. I had this argument with him because I said to him, I put a can of Coke on the table, and I said, "What's that?" And he said, "A soda." I said, "Yeah, but what type of soda?" He went, "A soda." I went, "Well, we call it a can of Coke or a can of Fanta."
Okay, what did the can say on it? What did the can say on it? COKE?
Yeah, a can of Coke. It's a can, like you said. What did the can say on it?
But
And
the brand was Coca-Cola, though, right?
yeah. So it's Coke.
Okay, if you'd asked me what do you call that right there, I said Coke.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
And if you had a can of Pepsi over there beside it, what do you call that? I call that Pepsi.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is,
If you had it in a glass with no name on it and said, "What do you call that?" I'd tell you, diabetes. But anyway, I'd say soda or soda pop.
Yeah, soda pop. Yeah.
I'd either say soda or soda pop if I didn't know the name of it.
Tomato, tomato. It's all the same at the end of the day. We all
Not really. They all taste different.
Yeah, well, it depends where they're grown, isn't it?
I never grew a Coke. How do you grow a Coke?
Well, that's a different subject for a different time.
How do you grow Coke?
We'd have to get someone. We'd have to get someone.
Drink. Along with how do you grow? Is there a difference between growing Coke and growing Pepsi? I want to know. The inquiring mind wants to know.
Oh dear.
According to Damon, you do not manufacture this. You grow it. Damon, I want to know on this time off that you're taking, you better come up with a good. Next time I see you, I want you to have a good show of telling me how you grow Coke and Pepsi.
Okay,
good.
Just for Christina, no, you have to ask for ice in the UK.
No, sometimes they'll ask you if you want ice.
Yeah, there's
Sometimes they'll ask you if you want ice.
No, over here.
Sometimes you have to stress that you want ice.
Yeah.
Over here in the U.S., if it's a drink of any sort like that, other than coffee or a hot or cocoa, something like that that's supposed to be hot, or I'm sorry, in y'all's case, let me hold on. Whoa. Tea. When you have your tea, it should be warm.
Yeah.
Could I just put this?
I agree too, but I was saying about coffee. I said coffee and cocoa, but then I forgot I was talking to UK people, so they commonize more with tea. No, that's not the FBI. That's the DEA.
Yeah.
DEA would not want us. FBI could care less because they're bringing it in from South America anyway in forms of coke, so it don't matter.
No, no.
CIA doing the same thing. That's what. See, they do that in order to keep DEA going.
Yeah.
Without the FBI and the CIA and the drug war going on, there would be no use for DEA after that.
Right, guys, I'm going to have to go anyway. As much as it's been absolutely brilliant as normal.
That's fine.
Well, let's end the show there then. But, Bill, thank you for coming on. It's been a great show. We had Aled on at the first. Don't forget, guys, I will be taking a break, so I'm leaving you with Ben and Lou for a little while.
And Ben, if you ever want anything to help break the monotony, just let me know. You know, if you and Lou,
Bill, do not worry, I'm getting you on.
We'll just have an off the wall night. You know what I mean? Whatever it comes up, we'll let the guests say, "What do you want to talk about tonight?" And then when they say we want to talk about demons, we'll say, "Okay, fine. We're going to talk about comedy movies." And you know, but yeah, if you ever want any kind of just relief, just to make you and Lou laugh, just give me a holler.
Will do, man.
Big shout out to Kate Sam. We'll miss you, Damon. I look, it all depends on work. I should be back. We'll keep an ear on it and we'll go from there.
So.
But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm leaving you in great hands. Don't forget, merch is selling. Don't forget the Discord. Don't forget the YouTube, guys. It's all linked on our page. Also, we just put a link up in the chat for the Aled film, so do not forget that. From us here at the Other Dimension, until the same time next week, it's goodbye from me and goodbye from our guests. And don't forget, and goodbye from the demon dog. But don't forget, guys, keep it here. If it's not, there's no other explanation. There's always the Other Dimension.